She didn't break your heart. She broke your will. Let's be brutally honest about what happened. This wasn't a mutual parting of ways. It was a psychological dismantling. She didn't just leave you. She deconstructed you, piece by agonizing piece, and you handed her the tools. You think you're mourning a lost love, but what you're really experiencing is the phantom limb syndrome of a severed identity. An identity you foolishly allowed her to define, to validate, and ultimately, to revoke. You're trapped in a feedback loop of her design, a digital phantom haunting the edges of her curated life. Your thumb hovers over her social media profile, a nightly ritual of self-flagellation. You've become a detective of digital crumbs, analyzing every new photo, every tagged friend, every cryptic story caption, searching for a sign, a ghost of a hint that you still occupy a sliver of her consciousness. Each like she receives from another man feels like a confirmation of your obsolescence. You scroll through your old text conversations, not for the memories, but as an archaeologist digging for proof that what you had was real, that the man she once admired wasn't a complete fabrication. But all you find are the blueprints of your own surrender. Every accommodating phrase, every plea for reassurance, every time you placed her validation above your own principles. It's all there, a permanent record of your slow, methodical self-betrayal. She knows this. Oh, she knows it with a chilling, primal certainty. She feels your desperation radiating through the screen. Every unanswered text, every delayed reply is a calculated move on a chessboard you don't even realize you're playing. She's testing the leash, and with every desperate "you there" message you send, you tighten your own collar. You've made yourself predictable, an open book written in the language of neediness, and there is nothing that breeds contempt faster than predictability. The great pessimistic philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer diagnosed this very sickness over a century ago. He understood a fundamental truth of human nature that you are now learning in the most painful way possible. A man's relentless need for a woman's approval is a one-way ticket to her silent contempt. Not a conscious decision on her part. It is an instinct. Your constant seeking of her validation doesn't signal love. It signals a void within yourself. You are broadcasting a crippling lack of self-worth, and her subconscious mind receives that signal loud and clear. It translates your neediness not as devotion, but as weakness. And weakness is never respected. It can be pitied, it can be used, but it will never, ever be desired or admired. She doesn't look at you and see a heartbroken romantic. She sees a project she no longer has the patience to manage, a puzzle she has already solved. Your pain doesn't make you a tragic hero. It makes you an inconvenience. Before we begin the strategic demolition of the weak man she left behind and forge the man respect from a distance, I demand you take your first step toward reclaiming control. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion now. Hit the like button as a declaration of war against your own weakness. And in the comments, I want to know two things. What city are you fighting this battle from? And what was the precise moment you knew the power dynamic had irrevocably shifted against you? Acknowledge the wound. We will use that pain as fuel. You believe your objective is to win her back, to restore things to the way they were. That is the loser's mindset. That is the thinking that got you here. The man she left can never win her back, because that man is fundamentally flawed in her eyes. He is the man who accepted disrespect. He is the man who begged when he should have walked. He is the man whose entire emotional state was a fragile ecosystem dependent on her approval for survival. Trying to win her back with that same identity is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The very act of chasing her reinforces her decision to leave. Every call, every text, every accidental run-in confirms her power over you. You are playing her game, by her rules, on her turf, and you will lose every single time. She holds all the cards because you willingly handed them to her. You gave her the ultimate weapon, the knowledge that she is the source of your happiness and the arbiter of your self-esteem. With that power, she can control you indefinitely, even in her absence. She can keep you on the hook with a single ambiguous text message. She can shatter your progress with one nostalgic photo. You are a puppet, and she has not even bothered to cut the strings. She just dropped them. But what if I told you there was another way? A path that requires you to abandon every weak instinct currently screaming inside your head. A strategy so counterintuitive, yet so brutally effective, that it will not only sever those strings, but make you the puppeteer. What if the only way to regain absolute control over the situation is to let go of the outcome entirely? What if the key to earning her unshakable respect lies in cultivating an absolute, unshakable indifference to her existence? We are not talking about a childish game of pretending not to care. We are talking about a disciplined, strategic reconstruction of your soul, where her validation becomes as worthless to you as a foreign currency in your own country. The journey ahead is not about getting her back. It is about becoming a man she is incapable of leaving. It is about forging a reality where her presence or absence has zero impact on your mission, your purpose, and your sense of self. This is the ultimate power flip, and it begins with a single, terrifying, and liberating decision that we will explore. Let's perform a strategic autopsy. Your defeat was not a sudden catastrophe. It was a slow, methodical erosion of your authority, executed with such surgical precision that you didn't even feel the blade. You mistook the slow bleed for compromise, the loss of territory for love. This wasn't a battle you lost in a single day. It was a war you lost over 1,000 silent concessions. We must dissect this failure bone by bone, because until you understand the anatomy of your own surrender, you are doomed to repeat it. The first phase of your downfall was the emotional concession. It began innocently enough. You thought you were being the good guy, the accommodating partner. He was upset about something, perhaps a plan you made with your friends, a career choice that required more of your time, or a boundary you had set. She didn't scream or yell. That would have been too obvious, too crude. Instead, she used a far more potent weapon, the strategic withdrawal of warmth. Her replies became shorter. The light in her eyes dimmed when you spoke. The air grew heavy with her unspoken disappointment. And you, terrified of that silence, of that emotional vacuum, did what you were conditioned to do. You folded. You canceled the plans. You second-guessed your ambition. You erased the boundary. In that moment, you taught her a critical lesson. Your principles are negotiable, and her emotional state is the currency. She tested. You yielded. She won. Schopenhauer would have identified this as the primary corruption of the will. Your will, your fundamental drive and purpose, became subservient to her representation of the world. You ceased to be a sovereign entity and became a satellite, your orbit dictated by her gravitational pull of approval and disapproval. Every time you apologized to end a conflict you didn't start, every time you said, "You're right," just to restore the peace, you weren't resolving a fight. You were handing over a piece of your sovereignty. You thought you were buying peace, but you were funding your own occupation. This led directly to the second phase, the relentless, soul-crushing search for validation. Having outsourced your emotional stability to her, you now required her constant input to feel secure. Your internal compass was broken, so you began to navigate using her as your North Star. "You have a good time?" you'd ask, not out of because her enjoyment was the only metric by which you could judge the success of the evening. "Are you mad at me?" became your constant, pathetic mantra, a desperate plea for reassurance that you were still in her good graces. You stopped making decisions and started proposing them, waiting for her stamp of approval. You presented your opinions not as statements of fact, but as questions. This constant validation seeking is the psychological equivalent of a beggar. You broadcasted a deep structural insecurity. You were telling her, non-verbally, "I do not trust myself. I do not value my own judgment. My reality is contingent upon your approval." And as Schopenhauer so brutally observed, this neediness doesn't inspire love. It inspires contempt. It is an immutable law of human nature. Contempt is the instinctual reaction to a perceived void in another person. You felt your weakness on a primal level. It wasn't a conscious thought. It was a gut feeling. She started to see you not as a partner, but as a burden, a project, a child in a man's body who needed constant reassurance. She tested you, and you failed. Every time you asked for her permission on something you should have decided for yourself, you failed the test. Every time you changed your stance to align with hers, you failed the test. Every time you looked to her for a smile to know you were okay, you failed the test. From there, you descended into the third circle of this hell: the loss of all control and the establishment of absolute affective dependency. By this stage, you were an addict, and her approval was the drug. She now understood the power she held. She didn't even need to voice her displeasure anymore. All it took was a shift in her energy, a delayed text message, a moment of calculated silence. Her silence is dominance, not inattention. It was a tool she used to condition you. You would scramble, your mind racing, replaying every recent interaction. What did I do wrong? What did I say? Your entire nervous system was hijacked, held hostage by her mood. You lived in a constant state of low-grade anxiety, walking on eggshells, desperately trying to preempt any action that might cause her to withdraw. You became predictable. If she wanted you to do something, all she had to do was become distant. You would then do anything, literally anything, to get back the warmth, to feel that hit of validation. This is the ultimate form of control. It's a leash you can't see, but you can feel it tightening around your throat every second of the day. At work, you weren't focused on your tasks. You were checking your phone, analyzing the timestamp on her last message. With your friends, you weren't present. You were a ghost, your mind elsewhere, trapped in the loop of her perceived disapproval. You abandoned your mission, your purpose, your very self, to become the full-time manager of her emotions. The final pathetic act was the breaking of the silence. This is the phase you are likely in right now. She finally pulled away for good, either by ending it or by creating such a vast emotional distance that the relationship was a corpse long before it was buried. Addiction went into full-blown withdrawal. The silence became unbearable, so you broke it. You sent the barrage of texts. You made the late-night calls, wrote the long, pleading email, laying out your heart, which was really just a detailed inventory of your weaknesses. You demanded closure. You begged for an explanation. You promised to change. You apologized for things you didn't even do. When you apologized, you signed your surrender. In that final, desperate act of supplication, you confirmed every subconscious doubt she ever had about you. You proved to her, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that her decision to leave was the correct one. You were not a strong, centered man who was sad to see her go. You were a dependent, a child, lost without his primary caregiver. You validated her choice by embodying the very weakness that drove her away. Now, I can hear the objections rattling around in your skull. But I was just trying to be a good partner. I was communicating my feelings. I did it because I loved her. Let's dismantle these pathetic excuses right now. You weren't being a good partner. You were being a coward. You compromised your principles not out of love, but out of a deep-seated fear of her disapproval, which was really a fear of being alone. You weren't communicating your feelings. You were emotionally vomiting, making her responsible for your internal state. True communication comes from a place of strength, not from a place of desperate need. You did not do it for love. You did it for validation. Love does not require you to dissolve yourself. Love from a place of strength respects boundaries, honors principles, and is not afraid of silence. What you felt was not love, it was addiction. It was a desperate, grasping need to fill a void within yourself with her presence. And until you admit that, you will remain her prisoner. No one is coming to save you. Not her. Not your friends. Not some fantasy of a grand romantic gesture that will make her see the light. You are the only operative on this field. You recognize the sickening reflection of your own actions in this strategic breakdown? Then your first counteroffensive must be taken now. Acknowledge the truth of your defeat, like this video as a salute to the weak man you are about to execute. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion, and you must hit the notification bell, because each video is a battlefield briefing you cannot afford. In the comments below, answer this with brutal honesty. What was the one reasonable request she made? The one small compromise that, in hindsight, was the first test you catastrophically failed. Name the moment your surrender began. You must understand that your fall from grace wasn't a loud, spectacular explosion. Quiet. It happened in the moments of hesitation before you spoke your mind. It happened every time you said yes out of fear, when your entire being screamed no. It happened in the small, daily surrenders that seemed insignificant at the time but were, in reality, the methodical dismantling of your self-respect. This pattern of behavior, This deep-seated need for external approval doesn't just poison your romantic relationships. Look at your career. Are you the man who quietly accepts more work without more pay, fearing the disapproval of your boss? Look at your friendships. Are you the one who always accommodates, whose plans are always the first to be sacrificed, because you fear the conflict of saying no? This weakness is a cancer. It metastasizes. The contempt she felt for you is the same contempt the world will feel for you if you do not excise this disease from your soul. This diagnosis is not your eulogy. It is the targeting data we will use to recalibrate your entire operating system. The process of forging a man she is incapable of disrespecting, a man whose respect is no longer up for negotiation, begins with this cold, unflinching look into the abyss of your own failure. Only by staring into that abyss can you begin the climb out. No going back for the weak man. Let that sentence burn itself into your consciousness. Only the construction of the new one. The man you were is dead. He died by 1,000 concessions, 1,000 pleas for validation, 1,000 moments of silent surrender. Do not mourn him. His existence was a liability. Your objective now is not to repair the old structure, but to demolish it down to the foundation and build a fortress in its place. This is not an emotional journey of healing. This is a cold, tactical operation of reconstruction. Your feelings are irrelevant. They are compromised data, a virus in your operating system. From this moment forward, you operate on protocol, not passion. Your first operational command is the immediate and total installation of silence. You will cut off all supply lines of information and attention. This is not a game of making her miss you. This is a strategic withdrawal from the battlefield to fortify your position. You will block her on every platform. You will delete her number. You will erase every digital and physical artifact of her existence. Your old conversations are not memories. They are the logbooks of your defeat. Burn them. This act of scorched earth is non-negotiable. Why? Because every moment you spend observing her life is a moment you are not building your own. Every notification from her is a potential breach in your defenses. You have been an open book, and she has read every pathetic page. Now, you slam that book shut, lock it, and throw away the key. You must become a black hole, a void where her influence used to be. Schopenhauer knew that the will is a blind, striving force. For months, perhaps years, your will has been directed entirely at her, at pleasing her, at winning her approval, at mitigating her displeasure. You will now violently redirect that force inward. Sheer, obsessive energy you once poured into analyzing her every move will now be poured into your own reconstruction. This silence is your primary weapon. In her world, where she is used to controlling your emotional state with a text message, your sudden and complete absence is an act of profound defiance. It is a declaration that the game has changed because one of the players has left the board. She may not notice for a day or a week, but she will notice. When she does, the silence will be deafening. It will create a question in her mind where once there was only the certainty of your devotion. And a question is the beginning of doubt. Your second command is the relentless reinforcement of your own hierarchy. A man without a mission is a vessel waiting to be commandeered. You rendered your sovereignty because you had no empire of your own to protect. That ends now. You will channel the entirety of your redirected will into 4 pillars of power. First, the physical. Your body is not a temple. It is a weapon system. You will train it with brutal discipline. The gym becomes your new place of worship. Every painful repetition is an exorcism of weakness. You are not building a revenge body to post on social media. That is the thinking of the old man, still seeking her validation from afar. You are forging armor. You are conditioning yourself to withstand pain, to push past limits, to become physically formidable. The man she knew was soft. The new man is hard steel. Second, the financial. Money is ammunition. It is freedom. It is leverage. You will become ruthlessly efficient with your resources. Every dollar you once spent on meaningless dates or gifts designed to buy her affection will now be invested in yourself, in skills, in assets, in your own enterprise. You will build a financial fortress so high that her opinion becomes irrelevant from the ground. Economic power broadcasts competence and stability, the very things your neediness screamed you lacked. Third, the social. You must aggressively rebuild your social architecture. The old man's world revolved around her. The new man is the sun in his own solar system. You will reconnect with male friends you neglected. You will build new alliances. You will place yourself in social situations that challenge you. She must understand, if she ever peeks back into your world, that her departure did not create a vacuum. It created an opportunity for a richer, more dynamic life to rush in. You are not a lonely island, you are a thriving continent. Finally, and most critically, the symbolic pillar. Purpose. You must find a mission, a grand objective so compelling that it eclipses her memory. Whether it's building a business, mastering a craft, or achieving a monumental personal goal, this mission becomes your new obsession. It is the new she. It is what you think about when you wake up, and what you work on late into the night. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who opposes his presence will be feared. And a man with a mission that is more important than any single person imposes his presence on the world itself. He becomes a force of nature. His focus is so absolute, his drive so intense, that the drama of a past relationship becomes a trivial footnote. This is the ultimate power shift. The old man's happiness was contingent on her. The new man's fulfillment is forged in the fires of his own ambition. He no longer seeks a woman to complete him. He seeks a world to conquer. This is the man she can only respect, because he is a man whose respect for himself is absolute and non-negotiable. Your third command is to control every future interaction with calculated indifference. The day will come when she attempts to breach your silence. It is inevitable. Her ego will not allow the void to remain a mystery. She will send a feeler text, a "hey," a "thinking of you," or a reference to an old inside joke. This is a test. She is probing your defenses, checking if the weak, predictable man is still in there. The old you would have seen this as a sign of hope, a chance to win her back. Your heart would leap, your hands would tremble as you typed out a desperate, overly eager reply. The new man sees this for what it is, a move on the chessboard, and you will counter it not with emotion, but with strategy. You have two options, both rooted in the principle of unpredictable minimalism. The first is the preferred option, no response at all. Your silence is a far more powerful statement than any words you could write. It communicates that you are busy, that you have moved on, that her attempt to regain your attention has failed. It is an act of pure dominance. The second option, to be used sparingly, is a delayed, terse, and unemotional response. Wait hours, or even a day. The reply should be no more than 3 words. Well, I'm busy. Okay. These are not conversation starters. They are conversation enders. They give her nothing. No emotional reaction, no validation, no opening. You are a stone wall. You are demonstrating that her power over your emotional state has been permanently revoked. Don't reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. Be an absence that carries weight, not a presence that begs. If you are ready to execute this protocol, to demolish the old man and begin the construction of the new, then take your first tactical action now. Hit the like button as a digital signature on this declaration of war against your former self. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion, and you must activate all notifications, for each video is a strategic briefing you cannot afford to miss. And in the comments below, I want you to make a public vow. What is the one pathetic, needy behavior you will execute today? Is it deleting her number? Is it blocking her profile? Is it finally throwing out the sentimental garbage she left behind? Declare your first kill. We will hold you accountable. The path forward is not about winning her back. It is about building a man who would never have lost her respect in the first place. It is about forging a reality where her approval is not only unnecessary, but completely irrelevant. Covering. You are upgrading. You are not healing. You are weaponizing. The throne of your own life has been vacant for too long. It is time to reclaim it. Let us speak of the end game. Remember the man who was a ghost in his own life, haunting the digital edges of hers? The man whose will was a broken thing, handed to her for safekeeping? That man is a fossil, a relic of a past you have buried so deep it has turned to stone. Silence you implemented was not a tactic, it was the chrysalis. And what has emerged is not the man she left, but the man she was never capable of handling in the first place. The final test, the moment you have been forging yourself for, will not arrive with trumpets and declarations of war. Arrive as a quiet notification on your phone, a whisper from a past you no longer inhabit, a simple, calculated text. Hey. Or perhaps, I saw something that reminded me of you and thought of you. The old man, the addict, would have felt a surge of adrenaline, a toxic cocktail of hope and fear. His thumbs would tremble, his mind would race, analyzing every possible meaning, every hidden agenda. He would see it as an opening, a chance to finally get the closure he craved, or worse, a chance to reignite the fire that burned him alive. That man would have replied, "But you are not that man." You see the notification, you read the words, and you feel nothing. It is the emotional equivalent of watching a leaf fall from a tree. It is an event in the world, but it has no gravity in yours. There is no anger, there is no triumph. There is only the cold, serene peace of absolute indifference. Her message is not a test of your strength, it is a confirmation of her weakness. It is the predictable move of a player who has realized her opponent has left the board. She is playing chess against herself, and she is losing. Your silence in this moment is the final, crushing move. It is not the angry silence of a child giving the silent treatment. It is not the strategic silence of a player waiting for a better position. It is the silence of a different dimension. The silence of a king who has left his petty, war-torn province to conquer continents. You don't reply. You don't block her again. You don't even delete the message. You simply put your phone down and return to your work, to your training, to your mission. The message sits there, a digital monument to her irrelevance. She will check her phone. She will see delivered. Then hours and then days will pass. The checkmark will not turn blue. The ellipsis of your reply will never appear. And in that void, she will confront the terrifying truth you have forged into reality. She has zero power over you. Her greatest weapon, her ability to grant or withhold her attention, is now a useless, rusted artifact. You have disarmed her, not by fighting back, but by rendering her entire arsenal obsolete. She is shouting into a vacuum, and the echo that comes back is only the sound of her own desperation. This is the ultimate vengeance, but it is not for her. It is for you. It is the final exorcism of the need for her validation. Schopenhauer understood that the will is a relentless, blind force. For so long, your will was chained to the idea of her. Now, your will is a tidal wave, directed at your own purpose, and her memory is a single grain of sand on a beach you will never visit again. You have flipped the chessboard, not in a fit of rage, but with the calm realization that the game itself was a prison. You are not interested in checkmating her. You are interested in building an empire, and queens who demand validation have no place in it. She will see you eventually, not because you orchestrate it, but because your success will become so loud that it will be impossible for her to ignore. She will see a picture of you, hear a story about you, or see you from across a room. And she will not recognize the man she sees. She will see the physical power, the quiet confidence, the aura of a man who is the center of his own gravity. And in that moment, she will not feel love or even regret. She will feel something far more potent, awe, mixed with the chilling realization of her own profound miscalculation. She will understand that she did not break up with the man she sees before her. She broke up with the boy he used to be, and in doing so, she cleared the path for the king to emerge. The respect you now command is not something you asked for. It is something you imposed. It was imposed by your absence, by your discipline, by your unwavering commitment to a mission larger than her, larger than any one person. You did not win her back. You outgrew the need for her entirely. You became the man she would now have to win over, and you have built your life in such a way that you are no longer accepting applications. The throne of your own soul is occupied, and you are both the king and the kingdom. She is a foreigner, looking at the walls of a city she can never enter, a city whose language she no longer speaks. She is a footnote in the epic of your life, while you became the ghost in hers, a constant, silent reminder of the potential she discarded and the power she fundamentally misunderstood. Your journey of psychological dominion is not over. It has just begun. To continue arming yourself for the battles ahead, you must commit to the protocol. Like this video to signal your allegiance to strength. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion, and you must activate all notifications because every broadcast is a weapon you will add to your arsenal. And now, answer this in the comments below for all to see. You have overthrown the weak tyrant of your old self and established a new regime. As the absolute ruler of your own mind, what is the first, unbreakable law you will decree for your new empire? Her greatest punishment is not your hatred, but your evolution. She must now live in a world you dominate, a world where she is utterly and completely irrelevant.